In order to understand the concept of Sustainable Development Goals, I will first define what Sustainable Development is. As the Brundtland Commission coined it in 1987, Sustainable Development is but meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The outcomes of our decisions and actions today have repercussions in the future, and that is why we need to be vigilant and take preemptive measures on how we carefully meet our development goals today in a way that our future generations can still have the luxury to do so as well. In 2015, the United Nations General Assembly was a scene of celebration when 193 countries adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, which form an unanimous commitment to end poverty, fight inequality, and tackle climate change. Sustainable Development Goals are set to balance human prosperity while protecting the planet. They build on the success of another 15-year plan created in 2000 called the Millennial Development Goals, which focused on developing countries. However, the Sustainable Development Goals go beyond the Millennium Development Goals by improving the lives of everyone, everywhere, and creating a better world for future generations. The new goals are unique in a way that they call for action by all countries, regardless of their financial status, to promote prosperity while protecting the planet. They recognize that ending poverty must go hand in hand with strategies that build economic growth and addresses a range of social needs including education, health, social protection, and job opportunities, while tackling climate change and environmental protection. Former Secretary General Ban Ki-moon stated the following at the Assembly: "We need action from everyone, everywhere. 17 Sustainable Development Goals are our guide. They are a to-do list for people and planet. They are the blueprint for success." These 17 sustainable goals mentioned by Ban Ki-moon include ending poverty in all its forms everywhere, ending hunger, achieving food security and improving nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. Also, ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being for all at all ages, and so on. But out of these 17 Sustainable Development Goals, there are some goals that are directly geared toward solving environmental problems, such as ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all, ensuring sustainable consumption and production patterns, sustainably managing forests, combating desertification, halting and reversing land degradation, and halting biodiversity loss, conserving and sustaining using the oceans, seas, and marine resources, and taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Environment protection is the foundation for the roadmap to real sustainable development. So in order to fully fulfill sustainable development goals, the environment should be integrated into all life goals, especially those that deal with economic growth, poverty eradication, gender equality, and health. Climate change is already impacting public health, food and water security, migration, peace and security also. Climate change, if left unchecked, will roll back the development gains that have been made over the last decades and will make further gains impossible. Moreover, it is important to note that tackling climate change and fostering sustainable development are two mutually reinforcing sides of the same coin. Sustainable development cannot be achieved without climate action. Many of the Sustainable Development Goals are addressing the core drivers of climate change, such as reducing greenhouse gas emissions and building climate resilience. Conversely, action on climate change will drive sustainable development. Now, when it comes to the environmental challenges that we face today, during the UNEP Foresight process, 95 emerging issues were discussed, and most, if not all, issues dealt with global environmental challenges. Among the challenges that were discussed were migration caused by new characteristics of environmental change, food biodiversity and land issues, freshwater and marine issues, climate change issues and energy, and finally technology and waste issues. Now, concerning food, biodiversity, and land issues, many animals and species are being forced to migrate into new territory because the habitat they used to occupy has become tainted and no longer contains the specific ecosystem needed, something that has taken millions of years to perfect. This displacement is harming, endangering, and at times leading to extinction. Consequently, there becomes a loss in food biodiversity not only for humans but also for the food of humans themselves. Now, with regards to the fresh water and marine resources, water is a major source of life. Obviously, when looking at the Earth from afar, we would see that it is almost made up of water more than land. And furthermore, obviously, when looking at the components of human anatomy, we would see that on average 60% of it is made out of water. And this is just to say how much water is essential in our lives. But unfortunately, due to pollution, clean drinkable water has and could be a serious rare commodity, and due to a rise of CO2 ocean acidification, it has become an additional complication. Now, when it comes to climate change issues and energy, what causes climate change is a rise in global warming, which is in turn caused by an increase in the atmosphere's temperature as a result of industries emitting harmful gases and burning fossil fuels. The climate change has various other destructive effects, such as changing seasons, creating new diseases, ozone layer depletion, and presence of acid rain. Acid rain is known for having dire effects on aquatic species, wildlife, and human health. As for technology and waste issues, this emerging issue is the root of all of the above mentioned challenges. Due to severe competition and technological advancements in industries and the lack of awareness of the significance of waste management, every element and every species on Earth has been tampered with and harmed in uncountable ways. Genetically modifying food through biotechnology also causes health issues every species on Earth, because tampering with nature shifts the balance it has created for millions of years. All these challenges the environment is facing in today's world had taken on new dimensions when factoring in how human beings have unintentionally transformed the system of the Earth. Human actions have become major factors in the Earth's operating system. They increasingly challenge new boundaries that lead to fundamental, unpredictable, and unprecedented changes in the order of environmental system. Human population is ever growing, and at the beginning of the 20th century, only 1.6 billion people occupied the Earth, while currently we're at 7.5 billion, and by 2050 it is estimated to increase to 10 billion. With this overpopulation comes unsustainability and shortage of natural resources such as fuel, food, and water. Overpopulated, underdeveloped, and developing countries already put a strain on the resources we have today. When it comes to sustainability challenges, more than 1 billion people are still living in extreme poverty. Income inequality within and among many countries has been rising, and at the same time, unsustainable consumption and production patterns have resulted in huge economic and social costs. As a result, this may endanger life on planet. Furthermore, the UN's Sustainable Development Goals also bring with them many challenges. First, many cities in developing countries lack essential up-to-date information on subjects like the location and characteristics of their slums, the state of being housing stock or transport network. Without this data, leaders would be unable to truly allocate help for those in need, and communities would not be able to hold leaders accountable due to poor monitoring information. Second, The 168 targets associated with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals can overwhelm leaders who, by trying to do too much, result in achieving too little. Finally, accomplishing the Sustainable Development Goals require a lot of financing. The question of how local governments can access new sources of finance, both from domestic and external sources, particularly climate finance, has not yet received the attention it deserves. Now, solving environmental and sustainability challenges can happen when there is a political will. If mayors commit to the Sustainable Development Goals because they can see the benefits, including political ones, or because civil society groups put pressure on them, then we might see results. And furthermore, civil societies can play major roles in keeping a close eye on Sustainable Development Goal progress and hold city governments to account. However, the most effective way of solving environmental and sustainability challenges is by having perspectives change, increasing awareness, emulating on bettering the environment and the economy, imprinting responsibility on the health and prosperity of the community, and putting more effort in finding efficient and revolutionary ways in reducing problems such as climate change, unclean water, and poor infrastructure. Although the UN Sustainable Development Goals are the responsibility of states, governments alone cannot address the critical challenges of sustainable development. Consequently, public sectors, philanthropies, and businesses cannot efficiently achieve their maximum potential if they continue to operate in isolation from one another. In today's globalized and interconnected world, there exists a great forum to give awareness and call on for real action. But in order to do so, we must work together, think global, and act local. In order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, one will need scale. Local is not the opposite of scale, but it is its genesis. Sustainable Development Goals offer an unprecedented opportunity to engage local communities in sustainable social change and to ensure that the voices and needs of local communities are represented in the goals' implementation.
My framework for action and practical projects to make the Sustainable Development Goals actionable is shaped by using locally focused philanthropy to reach all sectors and engage all actors, both big and small. Locally focused philanthropy can test innovations and develop initial innovative models that can be scaled up by multi-stakeholder collaborations, by the public sector, or by the local communities themselves. Locally focused philanthropy can harness community-based organizations, and these small organizations are ubiquitous and crucial in the ecosystem well-being. Locally focused philanthropy can help these organizations become as effective as possible. Now, in order to make this framework actionable, local stakeholders must be brought into the conversation. Philanthropy can play a critical role in bringing non-traditional stakeholders together, which is why it is important to include local communities and local community organizations into the framework for action. And many university programs condition graduation by forcing every student to engage in philanthropic activities. It would be important to involve these students as part of the stakeholders. In addition to that, the potential of local government should not be underestimated, and thus, working with national governments is a cooperative must. For instance, in the United States, cities such as Baltimore, San Jose, and New York have fostered the partnership with USA Sustainable Cities Initiative that work into yielding new case material on building sustainable development goal-aligned city strategies, designing data and monitoring systems, and engaging with communities and stakeholders. Philanthropists, they often go into a country without considering working with the government, and it would be a wasted opportunity not to include governments in the framework for action. Furthermore, it is important that changes cater to the needs of the community we are helping. Communities have been there for a long time before foundation and philanthropists arrived. By carefully listening and actually engaging the local community in all kinds of work, the intended beneficiaries won't just be participating, they will eventually be living these goals on a daily basis. And without listening to these local communities, the lofty goals that have been set will go unfulfilled, and the time, money, and energy that are put during this process could be wasted on a changing process that does not comply with the community needs. Additionally, it would be very helpful to seek the help of pre-existing local environmental institutions and work with them. A cooperative relationship would benefit both ends. Therefore, instead of conflicting with existing programs, structures, or institutions, philanthropists would be enhancing what already works and involving other institutions with their work as well. From the pre-existing local institutions, community-based organizations and local NGOs bring historical, contextual, and political capital advantages. This is because community organizations have a lot of accumulated experience and knowledge about what strategies work in local contexts. Moreover, it is important to recognize the important role that community-based institutions are playing in implementing the Sustainable Development Goals. Community-based organizations are particularly adept at reaching vulnerable populations and those at the last mile. They are also the best place to collect much-needed evidence of progress on the Sustainable Development Goals. Besides, we must recognize that community-based institutions can take more holistic, long-term, and flexible approaches as well. A long-term view can not only help implement the Sustainable Development Goals by numbers, but it can also help develop community resilience and social cohesion. Investing in local community-based institutions may also reduce the dependency on developing country programming on global North funders. Now finally, and most importantly, such progress necessitates time and patience. There are a lot of people who will get frustrated from not seeing results quickly, and that's normal. But unfortunately, in the reality of our world, destruction is easy and fast, but correction on the other hand and rehabilitation necessitate time and patience. The short-term efforts of implementing sustainable development goals lead into long-term effective results on the bright side. Now through these efforts, we would be investing in the future that we would want out for our future generations and our children. We are lucky enough to have lived on a planet that our ancestors have not yet destroyed. If we couldn't make the world a better place while sustaining its environment, the least we can do is to be able to give our future generation the same luxury that our ancestors gave us.